remember the exact moment I realized I wasn't aging like others expected. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning as sunlight streamed through my bedroom window, illuminating the fine lines on my hands. Hands that had just effortlessly pushed me up from my cross-legged position on the floor after my morning meditation. At 73, I rose without using my arms for support, a simple action that my doctor later told me was extraordinary for someone my age. My joints didn't crack in protest, my muscles didn't strain, and my balance remained steady as I transitioned from floor to standing in one fluid motion. You might take such movements for granted if you're younger, but this everyday action represents something profound about longevity that few understand. The ability to rise unassisted from the floor is one of the strongest predictors of how well someone will age. It demonstrates core strength, balance, flexibility, and coordination all working in harmony. That morning marked the beginning of my awareness about my body's resilience, about how the small daily movements I'd maintained throughout my life had quietly been preserving my independence. What I once considered ordinary habits were actually building an extraordinary future, one where age would become just a number, not a limitation. I've always been a brisk walker. Even now, I move through my neighborhood at a pace that causes younger people to quicken their steps to keep up with me, their surprised expressions barely concealed as they realize they're being outpaced by someone with silver hair. My doctor explained during my last checkup that walking speed is what they call a vital sign of aging, perhaps even more telling than blood pressure or heart rate. She measured my gait speed and smiled approvingly, noting that my pace of over 1 meter per second placed me in an elite category of older adults with significantly lower mortality risk. You can test this yourself right now. Time how long it takes you to walk 10 feet at your normal pace. If you can do it in under 3 seconds, you're demonstrating the kind of mobility associated with longer life expectancy and independence well into advanced age. Elizabeth, my next-door neighbor who's 10 years younger than me, shuffles slowly with uncertain steps, already using a cane despite being only in her 60s. The difference isn't luck or genetics alone. It's the accumulation of thousands of daily choices about movement that have shaped our divergent paths of aging. I stand on one foot while brushing my teeth every morning, a habit I started in my 50s after reading about the importance of balance. Right foot for 30 seconds while brushing the left side of my mouth, then switch. A simple routine that has preserved one of the most critical skills for longevity. When my granddaughter Emma visited last spring, she challenged me to a balance contest, certain her 12-year-old body would outperform mine. Her jaw dropped when I maintained a steady, one-legged stance for over 30 seconds, hands on hips, without the slightest wobble. You might not realize how balance profoundly influences your aging trajectory, but research shows that the ability to stand on one foot for at least 10 seconds correlates strongly with lower mortality risk. This simple test reveals the health of your nervous system, brain function, and muscular coordination. Sarah, my friend from yoga class, can no longer hold this position for even 5 seconds, and it's changing how she lives. She's becoming afraid of falling, which leads to reduced activity, creating a downward spiral that accelerates aging processes throughout her body and mind. I regularly squat down to play with my great-grandchildren on the living room floor, an action that consistently surprises my adult children. They watch with amazement as I lower myself down and rise back up without using my hands for support, an ability many lose by middle age. The deep squat engages nearly every muscle in your lower body while requiring significant mobility in your ankles, knees, and hips, joints that typically stiffen with disuse as we age. This movement pattern has been natural to humans throughout evolutionary history, yet modern lifestyles have made it increasingly rare. You can assess your own functional fitness by trying this simple test. Stand in front of a sturdy chair, cross your arms over your chest, and sit down and stand up 5 times as quickly as possible. If you can complete this in under 12 seconds, you're demonstrating remarkable lower body strength for longevity. Jennifer, my younger sister by only 2 years, gave up sitting on the floor entirely in her 60s, claiming it was undignified at her age. The truth, I suspected, was that rising had become too difficult, and rather than work to maintain this ability, she surrendered it, not realizing how this small concession would cascade into greater limitations. I still carry all my groceries from the car in one trip, refusing help from well-meaning neighbors who see only my age, not my capability. The heavy bags hang from hands that have maintained their grip strength through decades of gardening, knitting, and resistance training with small weights. My grip strength was measured at my doctor's office using a device called a dynamometer, another test that has proven to be remarkably predictive of longevity. The nurse raised her eyebrows at my results, noting that I tested similarly to women 20 years younger. You might be surprised to learn that how strongly you can squeeze predicts survival better than blood pressure or physical activity levels. This simple measure reflects overall muscle mass throughout your body and the vitality of your nervous system. Rachel, who lives across the street, recently had to call her son to open a jar of pasta sauce, a small surrender that represents a larger decline in her functional independence. Each time we outsource physical challenges rather than meet them, we accelerate the aging process that gradually diminishes our capabilities. If you've enjoyed these insights so far, I'd love to keep sharing this journey with you. Hit the like button if you're finding value in these lessons on vibrant aging, and subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges conventional wisdom about getting older. Your support helps spread these important messages to others who need to hear them. I live in a 2-story home and climb those stairs multiple times daily without a second thought. My breathing remains steady, my legs don't burn, and I've never considered installing one of those motorized chairlifts that many of my peers rely on now. Each step upward requires raising your entire body weight against gravity, a demanding task that simultaneously trains your cardiovascular system, leg muscles, and balance. This daily challenge maintains my functional capacity in ways that walking on level ground cannot replicate. You can evaluate your own stair capacity by noting whether you need to pause for breath, use the handrail for support, or feel discomfort in your knees or hips when climbing. These subtle signs reveal how effectively your body is adapting to the demands of aging. Margaret, my friend from college who now lives in Seattle, recently moved to a single-level condo specifically to avoid stairs, a decision that, ironically, may accelerate her decline by removing a valuable daily stimulus for her cardiovascular and muscular systems. I recall names, dates, and details with a clarity that often surprises younger people in my life. My mind remains sharp, not through special supplements or brain training apps, but through consistent habits that challenge my cognitive functions daily. Just yesterday, I met 7 new people at my community garden club and remembered each of their names without effort. A small victory in the battle against cognitive aging. My secret isn't extraordinary talent, but rather deliberate practice in paying attention and forming mental associations. You probably don't realize how everyday learning opportunities strengthen your brain's resilience against age-related decline. Each time you master a new skill, memorize information, or solve a problem, you're building what scientists call cognitive reserve, extra neural capacity that protects your mind. Thomas, my brother-in-law who retired at 60 and filled his days with passive television watching, began experiencing memory lapses within just 3 years. Meanwhile, my friend Diane, who took up piano at age 72, seems to grow mentally sharper each year despite being nearly 80. I sleep soundly for 7 hours each night, falling asleep within minutes of my head touching the pillow and waking naturally before my alarm. This consistent restorative sleep pattern has been one of my most powerful allies in maintaining cognitive clarity and physical vitality. My sleep efficiency, the percentage of time in bed actually spent sleeping, regularly exceeds 85%, a metric associated with better health outcomes and slower aging. I've prioritized sleep hygiene throughout my life, treating good rest not as a luxury, but as a necessity. You might underestimate how profoundly sleep quality influences your aging trajectory. During deep sleep, your brain clears cellular waste while your body releases growth hormone that repairs tissues and maintains muscle mass, processes essential for longevity. Linda, who lives next door, boasts about needing only 4 hours of sleep at 68, not recognizing how this chronic sleep deprivation is accelerating her cognitive decline and physical fragility. I see her aging before my eyes while she mistakenly wears her sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. I can still reach down and touch my toes without bending my knees, maintain proper posture throughout the day, and twist to look over my shoulder while backing up my car. Movements that require joint mobility and muscle elasticity many lose decades before reaching my age. This flexibility didn't happen by accident. I've practiced gentle stretching every morning since my 40s, moving each joint through its full range of motion. The routine takes less than 10 minutes but has preserved my functional mobility while peers gradually become stiff and limited. You may not connect flexibility with longevity, but research shows that spinal mobility in particular correlates strongly with overall function and independence in advanced age. Your ability to bend and twist without pain reflects the health of your connective tissues throughout your body. Evelyn, my cousin who's only 65, can no longer turn her head sufficiently to check blind spots while driving, a limitation that recently caused her to sideswipe a parked car. These restrictions don't just diminish quality of life. They create cascading safety issues that threaten independence. I maintain a vibrant social calendar filled with meaningful connections, weekly coffee with friends, volunteer work at the library, and active participation in my neighborhood association. These relationships provide purpose, joy, and a crucial buffer against the isolation that often accompanies aging. Research consistently places social connection among the most powerful predictors of longevity, perhaps even more influential than avoiding smoking or maintaining ideal weight. The engagement with others stimulates cognitive function, while regulating stress hormones that accelerate cellular aging. You might underestimate how profoundly relationships influence your physiological aging processes. Each meaningful interaction activates beneficial hormone cascades and nervous system responses that literally slow down cellular deterioration throughout your body. Harold, my neighbor who withdrew from community activities after his wife died 5 years ago, aged dramatically in the absence of regular social contact. His health declined rapidly not just from grief, but from the biological impacts of isolation, demonstrating how interwoven our social and physical well-being truly are. I've faced significant challenges throughout my 7 decades: divorce in my 40s, breast cancer in my 50s, and the loss of my younger brother in my 60s. Yet each difficulty strengthened rather than diminished my resilience, teaching me to adapt rather than surrender to circumstances. This psychological flexibility translates directly to biological resilience, my ability to recover quickly from physical stresses, illnesses, and injuries. Last year, when I fell while hiking, I bounced back within days, rather than the weeks doctors predicted based on statistical averages for my age. You build this kind of resilience not by avoiding challenges, but by facing them with adaptive mindsets and behaviors. Each time you overcome adversity, your nervous system and stress response mechanisms become more efficient at returning to baseline after disruption. Andrea, who's 15 years younger than me, seems to age dramatically after each life challenge. She hasn't developed the mental tools to process difficulty without it wearing on her physically, showing how our psychological responses directly impact our biological aging trajectories. I eat simply, mostly plants, moderate protein, minimal processed foods, following patterns established decades ago before such choices became trendy. My plate typically contains colorful vegetables, small portions of fish or legumes, and whole grains that provide sustained energy throughout my day. This nutritional approach isn't about restriction, but about abundance of nutrients that support cellular repair, control inflammation, and optimize metabolic function. I've never dieted in the conventional sense, instead establishing sustainable patterns that nourish rather than deplete my body. You might be surprised to learn that the stability of eating patterns matters as much as specific foods for healthy aging. The consistency of my nutrition has allowed my digestive and metabolic systems to operate efficiently for decades without the stress of constant adjustment to fad diets. Charlotte, my friend who has tried every popular diet since the 1980s, now struggles with digestive issues and metabolic dysfunction despite being only 66. Her body never adapted to any consistent pattern, and the years of fluctuating between restriction and indulgence accelerated her aging processes. I wake each morning with clear intentions for the day, tasks that matter to me, contributions I can make to others, and experiences that bring fulfillment. This sense of purpose has been a consistent thread throughout my life, adapting to changing circumstances, but never disappearing entirely. Research from the blue zones, regions with exceptional longevity, consistently identifies purpose as a key factor distinguishing those who thrive into advanced age. The Japanese call it ikigai, the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what sustains you. You may not realize how having reasons to get out of bed each morning influences biological processes throughout your body. Purpose activates motivational pathways that maintain dopamine signaling in the brain, preserving cognitive function and motor control as you age. William, who retired at 62 without clear plans beyond relaxing, seemed to age a decade within just 2 years of leaving his job. Without meaningful engagement, his physical and cognitive functions declined rapidly, a phenomenon researchers call retirement syndrome that affects many who lose purpose without replacing it. I now understand that my exceptional aging isn't exceptional at all. It's simply the natural outcome of maintaining movement patterns humans evolved to perform. My body functions well at 73 because I never stopped using it in the ways it was designed to move. The secret to my vitality isn't found in expensive supplements, cutting-edge medical treatments, or lucky genetics. It's in the accumulated effects of thousands of squats to garden, miles walked with friends, stairs climbed with groceries, and floors sat upon to play with children throughout decades. You have this same potential within you, regardless of your current age or condition. The human body responds to appropriate challenges at every stage of life, rebuilding strength and enhancing function when given the right stimuli and recovery. The greatest gift I can share is this simple truth. Longevity isn't something that happens to you. It's something you actively create through daily choices that maintain your body's fundamental capacities for movement, thought, and connection. Before we part ways, I'd love for you to join me on this journey of vibrant aging. Hit the subscribe button to receive more stories and insights about living fully at every age, and share this video with someone who needs this message of hope and empowerment. Together, we can change the narrative about what aging truly means and create lives of extraordinary vitality, no matter our chronological age.